So I always wanted to play tabletop when I was younger, and I just never had a group to play with, ever. I even tried to play with a group, and they said, no girls allowed. To this day, sometimes when I play a first-person shooter, I think, is this for me? And I have to remind myself, like, yes, it is for me, because I like playing it, and so it's for me. So it's something that's like still very deep-seated, but like every time I play a game, I make the conscious choice, like, no, this is for me and for people like me, and I'm gonna play it. There was always that want to play tabletop, and finally in my adult life, I met some really cool people that were like, yeah, let's do this. And then once I got in, it was like these years of oppressed want just like exploded. I was approached by a friend who said, here's an all-female group of players called the Strong Ladies. Do you want to be a part of it? And I said, oh, absolutely, yes, I want to be a part of that. And they're like the total like ragtag bunch. And we played every Monday on Roll20. And so we got to play for people like all over the country. They didn't have a healer. And so coming in as a healer, I immediately felt like here is a place that I belong as me, as Amy. And then my character, Mitty, also belonged because she was a healer and she had a role to perform, and I had, you know, a very important job. And so giving me something to do that was integral to the success of the party made me, Amy, feel like I belonged. My relationship with the C-Team cast has truly become like a family, which I'm sure like a lot of people say that about their D&D groups, and I think there's probably a reason for that. But they are like my sisters and my brothers. I trust them at the table to have my back, to always yes and my jokes, and I trust them, you know, off the table as well, to, if I'm having a problem, be there for me. And I think that D&D really forges these close bonds that you can't forge in other ways necessarily. One of the things we do is that before the show, before we play, we hang out for hours. And so it's just us like getting lunch, or maybe we record something together, or maybe we're just working together. And it's in those times where I'm realizing that like maybe our characters are having turmoil at that time, but we're still friends. So there was this time where my character and Chris's character, they had these two gods living inside them, and then the gods were taken out of them, and their relationship changed suddenly. Suddenly, you know, they didn't feel this closeness towards each other anymore that was being manufactured by these gods being in them. What then happened was that Chris the person and Amy the person thought, now we're fighting in real life, I guess. Now there's something weird about our friendship, and we weren't really talking to each other very much outside of the game, and we had to go up to each other and consciously say, no, that's our characters, that's not us. You know, we're still friends. And that was a really emotional time because we were both so affected by the game that we let it bleed into real life. And seeing that that's, you know, not the case, that I can be friends even when our characters are mad at each other, like, that's where I really think, like, trust comes in, because I realize that, you know, that is a true friendship. I think that I definitely work through things with my character a lot. I think Walnut is a way for me to have this character who is other, trying to find her way in the world. And it might not be me working through myself as I am now, but working through these issues I had in the past, and sort of seeing them through another lens helps me I process them in a new way. With Walnut, there's a lot of her that I don't like. There's a lot of her that I find obnoxious, she's stubborn, she's too willful sometimes, she doesn't know how to get along with other people, and really that's a lot of me maybe 5 or 10 years ago, and it's me taking a really hard look at myself, having self-compassion, because I look at it and I see all these imperfections in myself, but really, you know, these are fine ways to be, and I need to like accept that, and so I accept that through Walnut. I mean, there are things that she is that I'm not, like she's a lot braver than I am, and so it's really nice to put on the guise of someone that's really brave and feel like what that feels like, and you know, maybe I can bring some of that into my real life. And she's certainly more confrontational than I am. She's not afraid to tell someone no, which is something that I struggle with a lot. I think a lot of people do. So having the power and the autonomy at the table to tell someone no, like, that makes me feel good, and that makes me feel like maybe I can do it in real life. And so I do think that there's a lot of Walnut that I use to work through things. I think for people that are like socialized female, any time you can like have that self-autonomy to say no and be strong and like have agency over yourself, I think that's amazing. And I think Tabletop like gives you the chance to do that in a safe place that a lot of other places don't. My big thing is representation matters, and that doesn't necessarily mean that the person needs to be perfect. Walnut is not perfect. She's in a queer relationship, and it's a relationship that I think a lot of people can relate to because it's not perfect. It's not this sugar-coated, put a bow on it, perfect relationship. It has its issues like all of us do. I get people coming up to me saying, I've never seen a character like this in something, thank you for having Walnut be there. And I think just by her existing and her being a normal part of the group, like that does a lot. She doesn't need to be a rebel, she just is herself and she's accepted for who she is, and I think that speaks volumes. For me, the moment that I really realized everything was magical was when we started seeing the fan response. It started being, fanfics, and then it was like fan poetry, and then there was like a fan rap album, and then there's all this art. Seeing the response that people have and how it touches them emotionally in the same way or more than it's affecting us emotionally. I think that's really special because, yes, I'm role playing, but I'm actively communicating with the people that are watching, and they're feeling something and I'm feeling something, and like in that moment we're together, and so that's when I realized it was something really special. I think seeing the community response definitely let me feel safe streaming. Because it was kind of an unknown before that, and I felt like I could put my art out there, my illustration out there, and I knew that I would be accepted by at least some of these people that know me from C-Team. As a Take This ambassador, that means that I'm an advocate for good mental health, especially in gaming spaces. As a streamer, I try and make a safe space in my community where people can talk about that. They can talk about having a bad day, for example, and that's okay because we all have bad days. And some of us have more bad days than others, and that's okay, myself included. I think that I feel a responsibility to put good back into the world because I feel that video games are so good. I feel like they're such a positive in my life, and I don't make video games, but what can I do? This thing that I can do is I can, advocate for mental health. And so that's what I do. And I think that a lot of people, they feel the need to put good back into the world where it's like donating to Child's Play or Take This or what have you. And that's a thing that you can do. And so I think that for people that are able to, I think that, there is a responsibility for gamers to give back in some way. Positivity fuels positivity.